In this video, I'm gonna walk you through how to analyze a scene so that you can maximize your efficiency and proficiency on set. So for this shot, I have this location down in my basement that's just totally boring. With natural or pre-existing fixtures on, there's nothing deliberate about this. There's nothing super interesting. It's just a shot. I just put the camera down and recorded it. So when I'm thinking about how do I make this shot better, there's a couple things that I'm looking at. The first is, where are the natural fixtures already? And can I use them to my advantage? In this case, there are two lights, one of which is a fluorescent tube light in the ceiling, and the other is just a light bulb. Neither one of them really give me good motivation or good natural light, so there's no reason to play off of them, so I'm just gonna have to eliminate them entirely and gain control of the space. When I say gain control, I mean eliminate all ambient fixtures, all ambient light, and reduce the ambient light in the frame to be something that I can control, something that my lights can compete against, and that my lights can dominate the space and start to make shape of an image. Without control, you aren't really making a shot, you're just shooting, you're just hitting record. You need to get control of the space for anything to move forward. If you ever find yourself just totally frustrated, totally unable to make an impact on an image, chances are you don't have control of something. Whether it's the daylight spilling in, whether it's the pre-existing fixtures in the space that can't be turned off. You have to do your best to make use of them or eliminate them entirely. Part of this process means living within the means of your control. If you have access to really bright lights, then go for shots where you can make use of bright lights. In my case, I don't have bright lights. The brightest light I have is a 300-watt RGB fixture, which means its output is actually reduced compared to other 300-watt fixtures like an Aperture 300D or a Nanlite 300B. So that means I have to control the ambient level to such a low degree that I'm confident my lights will start to make an impact. So the first thing I'm gonna do is look at this scene critically and think about what it is that I want it to do. Since I have no real motivating light fixture, I can put one wherever I want. And I think I'm just gonna do a simple like top-down interrogation type shot. Something that doesn't require too much thought or effort. I'm just gonna put something right above the scene and start with that. The first thing I like to do whenever I start any shot is look immediately to the background. I like to work background to foreground. Lighting faces is really not that hard. I think at this point everybody has seen all the same videos on how to create soft lights and book lights. That is such an easy process at this point. I'd rather try and control the space in the frame first and see if it inspires me to do interesting things with the subject later. So the first thing is, there's actually quite a bit of depth behind the subject to that wall. We just can't see the wall. So I think I'm going to open up my blackout curtain on the window to the left of the wall and let just light come in, just natural daylight come in. And I like that. That's cool. That gives me an interesting thing to do here with two things. One, I have some light on the background, some texture, and two, it's daylight. So if I make the key light warmer and I rate my camera somewhere in the 3500 to 4300 range, I'll get a really nice warm key light and a really cool textured backlight on the wall. So now I have some interesting stuff to work with. I have a cool backlight that is hitting the wall, and it's gonna give me motivation to do a nice color contrast, which will look really nice on camera. So after I do that, I don't really see anything else in the background that I wanna do, except that the blue, cool daylight coming in can kind of motivate the idea of a bluer, cooler daylight hair light hitting the subject to play off of that light that's coming in. Now in reality, it doesn't do that. It doesn't reach that far. But in film, I can make it reach that far if it's good for the shot. And I think it is good for the shot. So I'm gonna put a little bit of cool daylight hair light splashing on the subject's back here. I'm gonna do my brightest light in Amaran 300C with a dome attachment, and I'm gonna put that right above the subject a little. I'm gonna hug one side of the face, so subject's left, camera right, just a little bit, so that I get some depth on the face and that it's not too frontal. So I look at both the spots and just ask myself, is there anything else I can do here? Is there any way I can make this a little bit more interesting? For the key light, I decided to kind of break off how far it ran away. And when I say ran away, how far it runs back towards the subject. So I kind of just flag off for the subject that near side of the light, and then when the subject leans in, it goes kind of from a darker exposure to a brighter exposure. which I thought just added a little bit of visual interest when the subject moves, and movement is always good in filmmaking. I'm a big fan of negative fill, so I just look to incorporate it in basically every shot that I do. I always start with it in, and if I find that it chokes the image too much, it's too much contrast, it's not right, I just back it out until it feels right or just eliminate it entirely, but I pretty much always start with it. So for this shot, it gets thrown in, I like it, and it gets to stay. So that's how I took this shot from pretty much nothing, nothing interesting at all, to something that's, well, it's not the best shot ever, but it's not bad, and it's definitely better than when we started. And the important thing is that I have control. So if the story changed, or the director didn't like anything, or everybody standing around set was like, this looks like garbage, it's very easy to change anything because I have control.